Evacuations remain in effect. Spot fires continue to break out. And tonight, crews are still on a mission to increase containment in Grand County.
Homes across these fire zones are left in rubble. The assistant fire chief in Grand County among those whose home is no longer standing.
This is like the death of a lifetime.
Denver7 is doing something others can't, teaming up with organizations in the community to help these fire victims get much needed financial support.
A family says their loved one didn't make it out alive. And tonight, a 25-year veteran of the Denver Fire Department is being remembered.
He lived a long, beautiful, retired life after a very prestigious career.
Plus, incoming snow, so welcome. But fire crews say fire danger could ramp back up early next week.
Snow coming this weekend, but we're not banking on that to be a season-ending event by any means.
And the Stanley Hotel now home to hundreds of firefighters.
It broke my heart to watch the evacuation orders come into this town of Estes Park.
Fire behavior today was nothing like we saw yesterday, but fire officials say the East Troublesome fire is still dangerous tonight. And despite more favorable conditions, the fire still grew another 17,000 acres today. So tonight it is 188,000 acres.
And today crews were able to get help from the air because those winds died down and the smoke cleared out. And tonight, just like last night, the main mission is structure protection along the Highway 34 corridor between Granby and Grand Lake. And we just learned containment actually dropped from 5% to 4%.
We'll kick things off tonight with Denver7's Gary Brode live in Granby. Gary?
Yeah, Shannon, it's much calmer here in Granby compared to yesterday, but there are still spot fires breaking out in subdivisions. Look, we know this fire is still devastating, and that's why Denver7 is doing something no other station is. We are teaming up with community partners along with Denver7 Gives to help these communities rebuild. Shelly Olson and her family had a picture-perfect cabin in Grand Lake.
We put everything into it to make this wonderful place for our two little girls to grow up.
Until just a couple of days ago.
You know, it was like just another gut punch to see it. How something so beautiful and so strong and so, it just didn't seem like anything could take it down, and it was reduced to just a pile of ash.
Olson and her family had only minutes to evacuate.
We never, I guess, could have imagined how intense it would get and how fast it would move.
Fond memories reduced to ash.
I'm just really, really gonna miss the good times we had there with friends and the community we had.
Since 2008, Olson has fought fires in her community as a member of the Grand Fire Protection District Number 1. But this time, there was nothing she could do.
Losing their homes, losing everything, you just don't think it could happen to you. And it can.
As Olson's house was being engulfed in flames, she found refuge in the home of her friend, Megan Ledeen.
It was one of the hardest nights, knowing that there's only so many things you can do for him at that moment. And no words are going to make it better. Grand Foundation, this is Megan.
Ledeen is the executive director of the Grand Foundation, which is now partnering with Denver7 Gives to raise money to help Olson and so many others hit by the East Troublesome fire.
It's really emotional for everybody here. We don't know how many homes have been lost, how many people, have been displaced.
We're not the only ones. I mean, this has happened to so many people in so many places.
A dream home gone. Now Olson and the rest of her community must rely on each other to get through this nightmare.
We're strong.
Denver7 is a 501c3, and we have partnered with 3 community partners, including Grand Station there, to help ensure that every single dollar we raise stays here in Colorado to help these fire victims. If you'd like to give, go to the denverchannel.com, click Denver7 Gives, and look for Help Colorado Wildfire Victims in the drop-down. And we've been so overwhelmed, Shannon and Ann, by their generosity. In fact, more than 400 of you have already donated around $50,000. Reporting live here in Granby, Gary Brode, Denver7.
Gary, thank you. And for all of you who have given, thank you. And for these fire victims, there is and will be such need for financial help as they figure out how they're going to rebuild. Among those people, Cammie Gilmore and her family. They learned today their cabin is a total loss. They bought it years ago on Sun Valley Lake, turned it into a business they rented out to guests. It became known as Twin Pines Lodge.
Which was probably once the most beautiful place on earth. We're grieving more of the people connection and what the magic was of Sun Valley Lake and that community.
And the Grand County Sheriff's Office still hasn't been able to give us a number of how many homes have been destroyed in the fire. They say it's just still too dangerous to get inside the fire zone and do damage assessment.
They were fixtures in their community, longtime Grand Lake residents. The family of Lyle and Marilyn Heileman say the couple didn't make it out of the East Troublesome fire alive.
Denver7 Sloan Dickey with how they're being remembered.
It's made the whole thing a lot more put in perspective when neighbors die in a fire.
The Grand Lake community mourning one of their own.
They're where they love.
The family of 86-year-old Lyle Heilman and 84-year-old Marilyn Heilman say the two died in the East Troublesome fire. Their son, Glenn, telling Denver7 the last he heard the two were going to take shelter in their basement. They haven't been heard from since.
They were the nicest people you could have ever hoped to have met. I think they kind of knew it too. They lived a phenomenal life.
Their family describes their home located north of Meadowview Mountain Lodge as a gathering spot, saying people would knock on their door for permission to explore the magnificent views or hunt the land and its wildlife.
So he lived a long, beautiful, retired life after a very prestigious career within the Denver Fire Department.
Lyle was a firefighter in Denver over 30 years ago, his colleagues recognizing him too.
We know that he was a member of a number of rescues and significant fires in the history of Denver through the 60s, 70s, and 80s.
A family member sharing her last interaction with her grandparents posted to social media that they were calm and prepared and decided to stay, later sharing that they left their family with love and memories.
They were really lucky people and had an awesome family and awesome community around them.
Sloan Dickey, Denver7.
And actually, just as that report was airing, the Grand County Sheriff's Office just confirmed those fatalities. Now, the family is already making plans to rebuild that beautiful home in honor of Lyle and Marilyn.
Tonight, we're also getting a look at the damage inside Rocky Mountain National Park. Park officials say some structures were lost on the west side of the park, but the extent is minimal. After the fire burned through the southwest side of the park, a spot fire sparked on the east side of the Continental Divide, and that's what prompted the evacuations for Estes Park yesterday. A spot fire is a fire outside the main fire lines, likely caused by flying sparks or embers. Rocky Mountain National Park remains closed, and the good news tonight is Estes Park still okay. The fire has stalled and is not moving in on the town at this hour.
Well, tonight the Stanley Hotel is at 100% capacity. It's filled with hundreds of hardworking firefighters battling the East Troublesome and Camera Peak fires.
The hotel's owner tells Denver7, despite only having 9 employees right now, housing those fire crews is the least he can do for people who have given so much to protect a more than century-old landmark.
I mean, I woke up yesterday morning and it was a normal day at the Stanley, and by 6 p.m. the world went upside down on us. The fire marshal, Kevin Sullivan, called me at about noon and said, can I have a couple of free rooms? I said, sure. And with every hour, that number went up 100 rooms. And so we've got about 500 in-house now.
What made you want to open the Stanley's doors to all of these first responders?
How would I not? I live in a wood house. I have the largest white and red collection of kindling in the state of Colorado. I'm so glad to have the community outpour. It's been terrific. Every shop owner that still can is delivering everything from dairy products to meat products to whatever. It broke my heart to watch the evacuation orders come into this town of Estes Park and to see everybody jamming down 34 and 36. My number one concern is for their well-being, and I'm very glad that that evacuation went as well as it did. There's no way to express the appreciation that as owner of a 110-year-old wood hotel that has survived all the things that has happened over the last 110 years, there were 350 to 400 of the bravest souls in Estes Park here to rescue us. It was really one of those great moments where the spirit of the Stanley shined on.
Boy, it makes us all feel good, doesn't it?
Oh, that was wonderful.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we're all keeping an eye on the incoming snow that should help those firefighters working tirelessly to contain these fires.
All right, meteorologist Stacy Donaldson spending this Friday evening with us. Stacy?
Hey there, yes, we are waiting for that storm very eagerly here across Colorado. It will dump some snow across the state. But for the time being, we still have hazy conditions here for the Front Range. It is a beautiful night out there, but it's been cold all day. Temperatures only in the 30s, but the winds continue to blow up into the higher elevations, and they will pick up again tomorrow afternoon as this front comes into Colorado. So we're expecting the winds to gust tomorrow between 30 and 40 miles an hour for the afternoon. We still have high fire danger through 7 p.m. tomorrow night off to our west. And also the National Weather Service has issued a winter storm watch that includes the Denver metro area and a big chunk of Colorado for this storm that will be arriving on Sunday. Coming up, we'll talk about how much snow we can expect and when it will finally leave, coming up in a few minutes.
Thank you, Stacy. Governor Polis today toured the fire zones, talking with evacuees and those fighting the fires. And he warned Coloradans the road to recovery will be long. It could take months, could take years.
We stand by our fellow Coloradans, right? We stand by our firefighters. We stand by those affected. If you know any personally, I know folks who've opened their homes to people that are temporarily without a home. But, you know, this is what brings us together. We're going to build back better than before.
The governor says he plans to work with state and federal partners, including FEMA, to get funding and resources to help these communities rebuild.
And this sure was nice to see today. The southern parts of the Cameron Peak fire got snow. Fortunately, we haven't seen serious growth with this fire. It remains above 206,000 acres, and it is 60% contained. Firefighters say they are thrilled with the snow, but like crews at the East Troublesome fire, they say this doesn't mean they're out of the woods.
Mail-in ballots rescued from the fire zones in Grant County. Tonight, details on how evacuees can still cast their vote ahead of the election.
Plus, cracking down on gatherings, the state's new guidance that you need to know about as we head into the weekend.
And the Broncos say they have to solve Patrick Mahomes this weekend if they want to beat the Chiefs. They have a plan. Details coming up.